Hi everybody, Deb Tucker here from Studio 180 Design. Today I'd like to walk you through how we create another additional Star 60 unit that we call Quad 60. It's one of our newer technique sheets and it's a great addition to those other Star 60 units that you might already have in your bag of tricks. So let's get started. So when we take a look at the unit that we're going to make, what you should notice is that the unit is composed of 4 separate triangles that make the one bigger 60-degree triangle. And the first step that you need to do is make a decision about what size unit you want to make. Remember, if you make the unit 6-inch, then the blocks that you build are actually going to end up being 12-inch blocks. So just keep that in mind as you're working. But I'm going to make a 6-inch finished unit. And what I'm going to do is consult my technique sheet for that. And one of the other things that I always do is I mark the size that I'm making so that I make sure that I'm getting the right numbers throughout the process. So I've decided I'm going to make a 6-inch unit. I've decided I'm going to use 4 different colors in my piece. And what I need to do is I need to cut 1 strip for each one of those colors. So I need 2 strips that are green for the side triangles, 1 strip that is yellow for the center, and 1 strip that is purple that is going to be the tip of the Quad 60 unit. Now, the size of those strips are all 4 inches. How do I know that? Well, that's the size that I was told to cut on the chart. The 2 greens, remember, are going to end up being the side triangles. And we're going to dress those first. These, what you'll do with your fabrics is put your 2 strips either right side or wrong side together. I guess it actually doesn't matter on this. They can either be right side, wrong side. They can be both up, both down. But what you're going to do is line up the edges and you're going to cut them using the same horizontal guideline as the width of your strip. So I used a 4-inch strip. I'm going to look for and find the 4-inch guideline, and that 4-inch guideline is going to go up against the raw edge of the strip. And again, because I need to, I usually just cut them in pairs at the same time. And I'll cut up one side, down the other. Once I have those cut, or that first pair cut, you can cut the subsequent triangles out of the strip one of 2 ways. You can either take the tool, rotate the tool, put the same 4-inch line at the top, and line up the edge of the tool with the cut edge, and make a cut going in that direction, and work your way down, rotating the tool. Or one of the things that I like to do is after I make that first cut, instead of rotating the tool, I actually like to flip the strip over. When I do that, it's very simple for me to keep the tool in the same direction, put the 4-inch guideline, put the edge, and make my cuts going down the strip that way. So that's the first step. Remember, you're going to need 2 of those triangles for every unit that you need to make for your block design. So once you have those side triangles cut, the next shapes you're going to deal with are the purple and the yellow triangle sections, and we're going to actually think about those as if they were a diamond. And this way that we've come up with is going to streamline the construction of those 2 triangles into a diamond. You're going to take the 2 strips that you cut for the purple and yellow triangles, and you're going to stitch those 2 strips together. You want to make sure that you put them right sides together, and you're going to run your stitching 1/4 of an inch on both sides of those strips. Once they're stitched, I generally take them and give them a quick press at the iron so that they're nice and flat. But then what I'm going to do is repeat kind of the same steps that I used to cut the side triangles. These are 4-inch strips. So what I'm going to locate on my Star 60 tool is the 4-inch horizontal guideline. It's going to go right up against the base of the strip. When I make that first cut, I'd have that little piece of waste that comes from a straight edge there, and make my cut. Take that apart, flip the strip over, or rotate your tool, either one, but use that same 4-inch horizontal guideline. Keep this up against here. And you know, if it's not exactly perfect, relax, because remember, all all things Studio 180 are slightly oversized, so you've got some wiggle room when you do that. But what you've got now are pieced diamond. If you take and remove those few stitches that are at the top, you can take that shape, you can see where the diamond is coming from, head to the ironing board, and give that seam a press so that it is open. So now that these are pressed open, what I need to do is to trim down and clean up the triangle section that's going to be in the middle of the unit. And to do that, I need to consult my chart again. That will tell me the diamond horizontal guideline, and in this case it's 3 1/4, that's going to go on the seam line in between those two piece triangles. So I'm looking down the edge, finding that 3 1/4 and placing that 3 1/4 inch line. There's the 3 and there's 1/4. It's kind of centering that, so I'm trimming off about the same amount on each edge. So the 3 1/4 is there, and then I'm going to cut up one side and down the other. That is now trimmed for a precision sewing step. Once I've got that trimmed, the next thing I would do is at my sewing machine, position those side triangles that I cut at the beginning of this and get those ready to do the piecework. I'm going to piece these just like I would a regular Star 60 unit. I stay consistent. I always start on the right, flip that over, line up the cut edge down here. When I do sew these things, I like to sew with the piece that I trimmed on top. So that way I can keep a very close eye and make sure that I'm getting a very good 1/4 inch seam on that specific shape. And let me clear the decks here a little bit and I'll show you what I've done. I've stitched with that on top. Once I'm done with that, I've got two options here. You can either press that like we'd show you in the Star 60, where you're pressing that seam toward the diamond, or you can press that seam open. And again, because so many times I don't know where the shapes are going to end up in blocks, I almost always tend to press that seam. This is the one we added, and I tend to press that seam open. Once I've done that, I'll take the next side triangle, position it so that the blunt edge is down there at the broad angle of the diamond, flip it over, and I'll go ahead and stitch that too. But again, stitching with that yellow triangle with the piece that I've trimmed on top, giving me this shape right here. I'm going to come back to this piece for 1 second. These are pretty solid looking colors, but sometimes you can see there's some hangover right there. What you may want to do is after you run that line of stitching, you may want to trim those dog ears off, because when you do that pressing, sometimes they hang over and they can give you shadowing in behind. So you don't have to do it if they're solid looking, but if there's light fabric, go ahead and trim those dog ears. So now you can see your quad 60 unit is complete, except we now need to trim it down to size. And this is how you'll do that. Remember at the beginning I said I was making a 6-inch finished quad 60 unit. So what I'm going to do on my Star 60 tool are find those diamond guidelines for the 6. And if you've made the Star 60 unit, that's going to be really simple. It's just like we would do if you were making a simple unit. Put those 6-inch guidelines here. You know what's also going to happen? That 3 1/4 inch horizontal line that I used when I did the earlier trim lines up right there on that center seam. So it's the 6-inch diamond guidelines, the 3 1/4 inch guideline, get it centered nice and square there, and I can trim then both sides of that shape to look just like that. And that base is still too big, so I need to trim that as well. I'm going to remove those out of the way. I rotate this so that I can make an easy vertical cut. And I'm going to use the flat edge trim line there. To place on the back corner, you'll find that lines line up here and on the seams, and then I'm going to take and clean up that as well to give me a perfect size unit that is exactly the right size to begin to build my blocks. Once your units are complete and trimmed, you can then go on to build interesting types of blocks. You can build hexagonal blocks. Now this block simply has our quad 60 unit teamed up with a regular star 60 unit, and that makes a hexagon block. This one is a different hexagonal block, and it has the quad 60 unit that you saw me make, and then a different colored quad 60 unit. And you team those up and you can get that look. This triangular block is made with the quad 60 unit that you saw me make, with a different quad 60 unit in there, and again, 2 of the standard star 60 units that you make with the basic set of instructions. And it goes on and on and on. You can build diamonds. The diamonds can then become triangles. The triangles can become larger hexagonal blocks. And you know, you can actually take this block, and if you work with units that are half the size, so 6-inch units I was working with, I made 3-inch units. Look how cool this is. I can take this shape, place it inside of there, and just like that, I've got this fantastic looking block with quad 60, my regular star 60 units, some companion triangles. There's no end. So if you don't have the star 60 tool, let me tell you, head right down to your quilt shop and pick it up. If you do have the star 60 tool, head down to your quilt shop and ask them about not just the quad 60 technique sheet, but check out some of the other star 60 technique sheets that we've developed. And of course, if you can't find them there, you come directly to us and we'll get them shipped out to you as soon as possible. But don't hesitate to add this. This is simple, this is easy, and you're going to have a lot of fun. Take care, everybody. See you next time.